die when you go to that great high-rise block in the sky.
Woohoo! I'm home!
So you know.
I might have a problem. Middle of butt fuck nowhere. Middle of nowhere in Scotland, and I've only got shut up, Dave. And I've only got 7% battery, 18 miles of range. Oh dearie me. Oh dearie. Good job I live just over there. Absolutely perfectly worked out my range. Well, not perfectly worked out my range. I knew I didn't need those extra 6 kilowatt hours I charged with at the motorway service station. Welcome to an unconventional car review in the middle of the bloody night. Shut Dave up before I get a copyright strike. Turn the climate control off so you don't get wind noise. God. Pokey pokey. Right, so data. I have just done 397 miles. I've got 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Pretty bloody impressive, to be honest with you. Just check the brakes on. Yeah, it is. So yeah, from East Ayrshire down to somewhere in Yorkshire to buy 500 meters of 6mm square solar PV cable, and this is a new car for Mum and Dad. This is their second EV. It's the first long drive that we've done, or sorry, not we've done, I've done in this. Their first car was the MG ZS EV, and I had a couple of long journeys in that were bloody traumatic, and I'm talking 15-16 hours, charge points broken, absolutely zero range, and declined credit cards because the thing's hot and won't take a charge, and the MG could only charge up to 50 kilowatt hour, and sometimes you'd be lucky to be getting 20 kilowatts into it, and it was absolutely fucking traumatic. It's that bad with the MG that we avoided long journeys and used my dirty Deasley Weasley Dacia Sandero stepway. I absolutely love that. Now, this has got a 80 kilowatt hour battery. The MG only had a 44 kilowatt hour battery, and on motorways, if you used to do motorway speeds, you wouldn't have you'd be lucky to have got 100 mile of range. Going careful, 55, 60 mile an hour, you could squeeze about 120, 130 miles out of a tank full, which was really quite squeaky bum. Whereas this one, absolutely fantastic. I got all the way down to Yorkshire, and I'd used 60%, just over. I think I'd gone down to 38% battery life, state of charge. So on the way back up, I stopped at Weatherby Services, and I charged the car back up to 66%, and I got all the way from, which Weatherby is still Yorkshire, I got all the way from there to East Ayrshire, and I reckon that I could have got away with just the 60% instead of the 66%. At the motorway service station, that was 29 kilowatt hours that went into it. And at the service station, it's 69p a kilowatt hour, believe it or not. So I reckon that rough maths in your head, when you consider that my diesel Dacia Sandero, my best ever MPG, driving like a vicar on a Sunday on the way to church, super eco mode because I was skint. I went from here down to Poole in Dorset to watch Glasgow Tigers Speedway versus Poole Pirates Speedway. I went down, turned around, came back. It was about just over 800 miles. I think it's 420, 440 each way. And I managed 81.7 mpg. I can easily get 70, 75 mpg. So at motorway prices, electric vehicles will actually cost you more than running a diesel. The only reason why this has been so cheap of a journey is because I was able to, we've fully charged off of solar. I've got a charger that you can turn right down to just a 6 amp trickle charge, and this car can sit here for days trickle charging. And luckily enough, the car was at 98% when I saw an advert on Facebook Marketplace for this 500-meter reel of solar cable, and it was too good a price to not snatch. So yeah, I went to the service stations. On the way back home, I put 29 kilowatt hours into it. I have been on a super eco mode drive, like I would have driven my Dacia, and I made range. In fact, I probably bettered the range. Absolutely bloody brilliant. I mean, 4.2 kilowatt. Sorry, 4.2 miles per kilowatt. I will get that in my stupid head. Absolutely brilliant. Things that this car is lovely and comfortable. I mean, I've been on the road for nearly 9 hours, not a hint of bum ache. The boot is absolutely cavernous. I can get both of Mum's electric scooters in there, plus picnic and blankets and coats and bags and God knows what. The boot's massive compared to the MG. That was quite a small boot to try and get mobility scooters and wheelchairs and things like that into it. So the Skoda Enyaq, absolutely brilliant. I'm converted. I've been a lifelong petrol head, and I love my little diesel. But where this EV has got a usable real world range, yeah, it's just a game changer. It's just a shame that public charging is so expensive. Having said that, with the state of public charging, yes, it has got more expensive, but it looks like there's a lot more motorway service charge points now. I counted 12 of the Type 2 and the Chocadoo or whatever it is freaking cable. So it's nice to have plenty of ordinary fast chargers for the low life riffraffs, instead of all your bloody, you go to the service station and it's full of Tesla chargers. There's dozens and dozens of Tesla chargers, all bloody empty. And the normal riff-raff Joe public would get 2 chargers probably broken. So for the last couple of years, we've been actively avoiding long journeys and using my diesely wheelie. Hopefully times are a-changing. I don't know what else to say about this car, really. Oh, it handles beautifully. Well, not say beautifully. It's not like it's a sports car, don't get me wrong, but I'm amazed at how little body roll there is. You can really conserve your energy and keep your momentum up through the bends. So you go, meow-wee, meow-wee. Just try and keep your momentum up. You really, really don't want to be using the regenerative braking. You just try and keep it into a nice neutral coast. You know, you're not accelerating, you're not decelerating, you fix the speed and you stick to it. So consequently, you end up going around tight bends at about 50, 55 mile an hour, which are too fast. You shouldn't be doing it at that speed, but you're just trying to keep your momentum up. Couldn't do that in the MG. It wallowed around like a piece of shit, and you really felt the weight of 2 tons, and you're going to end up losing it. My Dacia Sandero, that handles an eco drive through the bends and keeping the momentum lovely. Same as my Royal Enfield Himalayan, one of my motorbikes. It's like a trail bike styly thing, very underpowered but very economical. That flies through the twisty bends, and I can still get 90 mpg out of the thing. Just try and preserve your momentum. So that's what I've been doing on this all the long drive. The only real squeaky bum time I had was coming over the A76 from Scotch Corner. You go over the Pennines towards Carlisle and Cumbria. Drove into really, really heavy, thick fog because you're up high and very, very steep hills, and I literally sort of 35, 40 mile an hour, and the range started to disappear, and I was only getting like 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. My bum started to squeak when my range left was less than my distance to go. But by the time I came down out of the fog and we're going downhill, I'm not going, oh goody, downhill, let's use the regen. You know, you want to build momentum, keep a nice neutral zero so you've got momentum to carry you up another bit of the other hill. So by the time I'd got to Carlisle, my range had come back to me, and when I was on to the M6, just cruising along at 55, 60 mile an hour, my range came back to me quite nicely. So I'm wondering if this car displays a similar sort of characteristics to my lithium iron phosphate battery pack at home, because this is now this battery pack is lithium iron phosphate, so there's a lot less murder metals in the battery pack, so a bit of a clearer conscience. So yeah, like when it was under a high heavy load, just doing 35, 40 mile an hour up a steep hill, so the voltage would have sagged right down, and then when I've gone back to normal driving at a fairly light throttle, my voltage has recovered and the range has come back to me, sort of thing, came quite quickly. That was my only real squeaky bum time, was when I was driving in thick fog and the range was disappearing. Apart from that, if you can get 4 miles per kilowatt hour, I'm matching my prospective range. Absolutely phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. There's not much else I can say, really. Just wow. Wow. I'm gonna go home and go to bed now, because It's 20 to 1. And I'm sat up the road with my lights on, like a murderer or whoever. Looks slightly dodgy, but yeah, not far to go. I've got about half a mile to go, and then I'm home. And judged that to perfection. The range didn't. Oh, that was the other thing as well about the MG. When it got down low on range, it got to about, well, as soon as it got to its last dot on the gauge, and the range was at about 30 miles, it went 0. You're on your own. Good luck. And you're like, oh bloody hell! So, wing and a prayer to get to motorway service stations with absolute zero, plug it in, and the back, you know, just for things to turn around and say no, and you've got absolutely no reserve. Whereas now, hey, nothing as scary happened down the bottom. It's kept on ticking all the way down. Didn't shut off and say that I'm on your own. One of those bars is regen that direction. Regen that direction. Off to the left is regen, and off to the right is the power that's available. The only thing that did happen is when it got down to 20% and it turned around and said, right, charge me, the green bar of power available started to run down, and now I'm at about half available. There you go. So as I got less and less state of charge in the battery, that green bar was from up full, slowly ticked down. And the regen does the opposite. When you first start a journey and the battery's cold, you've got very little blue barb, and then as it warms up and gets conditioned, all of the regen becomes available. Well, it's done the opposite on the way for the discharge. You can see that I've only got half power available, and I put my boot down, and yeah, sure as shit, it only gives you half of the power that's available to try and preserve your range and drag you out as much as possible. It'd be interesting if I went up and down the road to try and use up the last of that 6%. See how much further I can go, and also what happens when it gets to 0. Because the MG, it started to shut down completely. Like the heater turned off, the stereo turned off, but it was like panic stations, reduced power, no idea how much power, how much range, blah blah blah. Whereas this, the old Skoda Enyaq, it's quite good, quite comprehensive, seems quite accurate. I was also worried that when you got down to a low state of charge, especially if it was just measuring voltage, that it would all of a sudden take a nosedive, whereas it didn't. It stayed consistent all the way. So it, you know, nothing scary happened. So that'll be nice and reassuring when I report back to Mum and Dad, you know, because they're both 70-odd-year-old pensioners, and I'm used to range anxiety from riding my motorcycles, whereas the MG was all new to them, and it freaked them the fuck out, and it stressed me the fuck out. It was not a nice experience at all on long journeys on that. The best I managed on the old MG was to go from Newcombe, East Ayrshire, over to Edinburgh Monarchs Speedway and back. That was really close to it. It just, right, I'm really starting to waffle now, probably because I'm over caffeinated. I don't know how I'm gonna sleep tonight. So yeah, That's another good thing. My flask fits in the door and it stands upright so it doesn't dribble. Happy days. Right then. Lots to do with that cable that I've got on board. All of those solar panels that are plumbed into the battery pack and the Enern inverter, they're really not going to cut the mustard and produce much power at all in their current location over the rest of autumn and winter. So they need to be moved into the bottom corner of the garden. That gets the most sun the earliest in the winter. And this was just too much of a deal. 500 meters of 6mm square PV cable, 200 quid, £200 sterling, UK, for all my international viewers. So it was well worth my while. 400 miles, 9 hours. Lovely. Right. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll smell you later. Take care. Bye-bye. Me again. Welcome to the inside of the garage. If you're new to EVs and you've just had a recent solar install, no, not a recent solar install, because then you'd be up to date and all singing and all dancing. If you're new to EVs but you have existing solar, or you're cobbling together solar and you're on a limited budget, excuse me whilst I smoke some caffeine antidote, I highly advise that you get one of these. It's a normal type 2 3-pin plug charger. Try and get yourself one that's got an adjustable button. So it's 6 amps, 8 amps, 10 amps, 13 amps, and then back to 6. At 6 amps, 240 volts, this will charge at 1500 watts, 1.5 kilowatt hours. So you're able to trickle charge your car on a gloomy day if you have enough solar, or if you just about have enough solar, you're able to trickle charge your car without it being too sore on the wallet and costing you too much. I've got a bit of a sore throat because I've been singing my head off for the last 8 hours in that car. That's the other good thing about that Skoda, is the stereo is fantastic. It's so bassy, no word of a lie. It's like it's got a vibrating seat bottom. Brilliant. But yeah, if you are limited funds and you can't afford to have your whole house, you know, all these digitized hive things that have got a central nervous system and it knows how much power is coming in and where it can go where and things like that. I run around like a madman turning things on and off because your finger is a lot cheaper than all of this equipment. So if you haven't got thousands of pounds to bring your house up to date in the 21st century, your finger's a lot cheaper. So keep an eye on what you're generating, run around, turn things on and off, and get yourself a charger where you can just trickle charge. Brilliant. Saves a fortune. So that journey that I've just done, the weather's been really quite for October. The 8 kilowatts worth of panels grid tied on the house are able to keep this running. And over the course of a few days, bearing in mind that I'm at home all day because I'm my mum's carer, and Mum and Dad are retired, and Dad's in ill health as well. So if you work from home, or if you're night shift or something like that, and it suits your circumstances, get yourself an adjustable charger. When we had the MG, it came with one that was 10 amp, and that gives you 2.4 kilowatt hours. But that was quite hard to control when you've not got enough solar coming in. But since all the upgrades and the Gumtree specials being plumbed into the house and new panels on the roof, this last year, just over the last year, year and a half, since having that, saved an absolute fortune with being able to control, where and when, how fast I charge the car. But you just got to be prepared to run around like an idiot. I have come sprinting up the garden countless times when I've been out in the garden. It's been nice and sunny, and then all of a sudden a big cloud comes and parks itself over, and you just go, right, shit, up, run up the garden, turn this off, or turn it up, turn it down. Absolutely wonderful. You save yourself a fortune. Right. I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight. I've drunk far too much strong caffeine. It's now 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, and I'm still buzzing. Right. I'll walk the dogs, and that'll be me. No night. Love you lots. Thanks for putting up with my bullshit. Bye.